Assalamu alaikum. Surat al-Buruj. As usual, I will read the Arabic, translate it, and then give you my observations. There will be more observations in this surah than many I've done previously, as it's very controversial, and many tried to make it seem to be allegorical, but I leave it up to you as to what you may believe. The emphasis is on tyrannical oppression, which I think is very apropos or appropriate for what we're living through. We are living through this right now. And inshallah, it will seem easy for you if you think of current events and not try to put this in any particular place and time, as the tafsir is incredibly controversial as to the absolute meaning. So let us begin. Surat al-Buruj. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نكموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن البطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. Now, I will read you the translation as much as it will benefit you. It's okay, but as I told you, this is a very controversial surah, and there are many different interpretations. The onus is on you if you really care to delve deeply. Surat al-Buruj translation. By the sky containing great stars, and the promised day, and the witness, and what is witnessed. Destroyed were the companions of the trench, the fire full of fuel, when they were sitting near it, and they, to what they were doing against the believers, were witnesses. Now, we can read a footnote here, although I tell you sometimes don't be limited. After casting the believers into a trench filled with fire, they sat at its edge, watching them burn to death. This event occurred before the time of Prophet Muhammad. We could draw an analogy to the Palestinians right here. And they, to what they were doing against the believers, were witnesses. And they resented them, not except because they believed in Allah. Actually, and they resented them not, except because they believed in Allah, the exalted, and might, the praiseworthy, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and Allah over all things is witnessed. Indeed, those who have tortured the believing men and women, and then have not repented, will have punishment of hell, and they will have the punishment of the burning fire. Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is the great attainment. Indeed, the assault of your Lord is severe. Indeed, it is He who originates and repeats. And He is the forgiving, the affectionate, honorable owner of the throne. The throne means everything, everything that you see around you. El Arsh. It's not the Christian word throne for a king, because Allah is not a king. Allah is a Malik, Malik al-Mulk. He owns everything that can be owned. We have a lot of work to do with defining terms in Arabic and not walking in footsteps of disbelievers. Effector of what He intends. Has there reached you the story of the soldiers, Pharaoh and Thamud? But they who disbelieve are in denial, while Allah encompasses them from behind. But this is an honored Quran in a preserved slate. Now, my recommendation to you, as I've often said, is to know the meanings of the words. And don't say Pharaoh is one man. This concept of Fara'a, the root of Pharaoh, Pharaon, it has to do with dividing. Dividing what? Dividing everyone from Tawheed. Because Tawheed is the main focus of Islam, of the message of all of the Anbiya who came from the beginning. Allah is one, have no false gods. That's what we learned as Catholics. Thamud, another evil entity, let us say, because Allah often joins them, Pharaon wa Thamud. So now you can go and do your homework about these two words. But let's concentrate right now as we live in the days of, well, if I say the days of uncertainty, it's all uncertain. What is certain other than La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad, the final messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is Rasulullah. But most don't believe, as I've told you, Allah repeats repeatedly in the Quran, and I will say it probably in every lesson. Most don't believe, they hate the truth, and they are ungrateful. Most of whom? Most of humanity. So because I often stress this, so you won't get depressed, and you won't get sad, and you won't get angry, and you won't get anxious, don't go to Big Pharma to take some sedative, whether it be a muhaddi, tranquilizer, or a munasha, something to pick you up. You know, that's what cocaine does. That's what everyone wants to, I don't know. You know, all these drugs, which I've never tried, I never will try. Inshallah, I always tell you I only tried marijuana for a couple of months. I was smoking marijuana. This is what makes my lessons special, isn't it? When I was at the last of my research for my PhD, I was stressed. So I thought, I'll relax. Saturday night, you know, smoke some weed, go out to dinner with my then husband. Have fun, relax. And then I noticed that I was kind of like loving it. and not really thinking food was that delicious when I wasn't smoking marijuana. This phase lasted about, I would say, no more than a month, 5, 6 weeks max. And suddenly I just said, are you crazy? What are you doing? Does this mean you're getting addicted to marijuana? Weed, as they call it now? Yeah, because my brain was still intact and I was never one to avoid reality. Face yourself. And I immediately quit and I never went back because it is dangerous. So if we're going to talk about the destruction of any calm, and we want to place this sort of Buruj into where it should be, which is oppression of innocent people who only want to follow Allah, well, you're going to have to face Faraona with the mood. And they will torture you. Whether or not they'll throw you in a ditch, whether or not they'll put you in a burning ditch, whether or not they'll... all the torture you can think of, whether it be accidental or they claim it's accidental or... no. The essence of this sort of is tyrants torture to rid themselves of Tawheed. Now, who was tortured, when, where, why, and how? As I repeat, this was before Prophet Muhammad's time. There's a lot of stories. I actually, I don't know if this is allowed, if it should, I don't know. I'm doing this with a good intention. Listen to Numan Ali Khan's tafsir of this, and you will be amazed at his ability to put things into perspective, coming from his own analysis, because he has a right to analyze Arabic because he's so good at it. And he's my brother in Islam, whom I very much respect. His name is Nu'man Ali Khan. And a lot of people will criticize him because they're not following his manhaj, as we call it, or minhaj. He gets unfairly criticized. Really, he does. So you can follow him, you can follow me, you can follow whomever on YouTube you choose. But remember, Allah is the one who guides the hearts. So if you have a proper niyyah, that means what are you doing and why are you doing it, for whom? Allah will truly guide you and he will never stop. And he will always be with you through his signs in the universe. And then you can always rest assured that if all the forces together gathered to hurt you, they can never hurt you unless Allah allows it. Also, if Allah allows the forces on the earth to help you, no one can stop them except Allah. So look at it this way. When you're reading any page of Quran, especially in English, because that's... I wish you could try a little bit to learn Arabic. Someone asked me, how did you first become Muslim and how did you become guided? And I said, well, I was a Muslim since I was born. And Allah never took Tawheed out of my heart since I can remember being 3 years old and being in bed and looking up and saying, who are you up there? I know you're not hanging on the wall on the cross with a bleeding crown of thorns and nails in your hands and knees and blood dripping out of your ribs, where supposedly the Roman soldiers stuck a spear in you to make sure there was no blood left, and they had to see the water dripping down. Now, if this sounds gory, welcome to my life. I was raised up by Catholic nuns, and the whole thing was very gory. But I never was afraid. I just felt this is ridiculous. Can't be the God that, well, the G-D word. It can't be the almighty power. I just knew that. And all of the stories just made it seem more preposterous. The stories they were telling us. There's something called the Stations of the Cross. I want to talk to you about this, perhaps more next week at Easter time when it comes up. It's something that the Catholics did to all of their students. and every year. So I went through this every year, but Allah gave me tathbeet, and I never believed in it. It's called the Stations of the Cross, and it talks about how Jesus had to carry his cross on his shoulder and drag it through the city, and how people would throw things at him and scorn him. And that was what we had to follow on Easter week. And then they were posted in pictures all over the classroom walls. And then we went to the church, and they were posted in pictures all over the church walls. And we were supposed to feel sadness over this. We were supposed to say, oh, poor Jesus, look at him, he's falling and he's bloody. And I never believed it. So we love Prophet Isa, and we love his mother, Maryam. The Catholics call her the Blessed Virgin Mother, Mary. Not Maryam, they call her Mary, because that's their holy name for women. You know how we have Fatima? Well, in the Catholic Church, it's Mary. And so in this sense, 16. I'm going to leave you with the fact that my parents had a big fight. My dad wanted to call me Mary when I was born. And they waited 7 years for my birth. And finally I came, and my dad was so excited. And my mom said, no, she's not going to be called Mary. I'm sick of all the Marys in your family, your cousins, your sister. No, she's going to be called Diane. And they had this huge fight about it. And my dad said, listen, I'll put Mary Diane on the school registration. I was a little newborn baby. And you can call her Diane if you want, but in school she's going to be known as Mary Diane, because I register her. In other words, back in the day, the man was the boss and he had all the money. And I was never called anything but Diane in my house. But in the classroom, they would call me Mary Diane because Dad had the money and he funded the Catholic school, right? Right. Well, guess what? When I learned Arabic, I learned that the word Diane is me. It means somebody who's deep into religion, especially the haram and halal aspects of it, what is allowed and what is prohibited. It's Diane, and that's why you will find the name among the Hebrew scholars, Diane. So, when I say I have an unusual past, I have an unusual present, Allahu alam what the future is going to be. But I will continue on my path of reading and researching and trying to learn the true meaning of the words and not be a blind follower of anyone or anything. I don't care who he is or who he was, because I got a rukhsah that I can make ijtihad from an Egyptian sheikh who I respect very much. And this was a long time ago. He gave me a rukhsah of ijtihad. No blind following. Study, pay attention to the meanings of the words, keep up your 5 prayers, try to do more than the 5 prayers, pray at night, and make sure, this is the number one that everyone tells you, and I'm telling you now, okay? Ikhlas an-niyya lillah. Make sure you're sincere in your intention that you're doing this for Allah alone and no one else. Follow the sunnah. Make great effort. You'll be okay. Might not seem so in the beginning, or even in the middle. If you keep studying Arabic and reading Quran and paying attention to the sounds and listening to the Quran and just begging Allah in sujood to help you, of course He will. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.